Billionaire mom sees black waitress feeding her blind daughter and changes her life forever. Why would a billionaire mom hire the kind waitress who paid more attention to her blind daughter than she did? While the job offer is life-changing, the truly shocking twist is the dark secret this waitress uncovers about how the daughter lost her sight, a secret the powerful mother will do anything to protect. Subscribe, like, and listen to the full story to find out what happens. The clink of ice in crystal glasses and the low murmur of expensive transactions filled the Sapphire Lounge, a soundscape Victoria Bennett usually found soothing, the sound of power. Tonight, however, a discordant note snagged her attention. Across the hushed dining room, her 16-year-old daughter, Clara, sat alone at the edge of their large table, a familiar tableau of dutiful, silent waiting. Blind since childhood, Clara navigated the world with a quiet resignation that Victoria mostly chose to ignore, especially when billion-dollar deals were on the line, like the one she was currently negotiating over her sleek smartphone. Then, she saw the waitress, a young black woman with a kind face and gentle movements, approach Clara, not just to take an order, but leaning in, speaking softly. Victoria felt a flicker of annoyance. Staff interrupting family time, even if she wasn't actively engaged with her daughter. But she watched, intrigued despite herself. The waitress, Jade, wasn't just serving, she was connecting. She described the aromas wafting from the kitchen, helped Clara identify the silverware by touch, and then, as she delivered a bowl of soup, she sat down for a moment. Victoria watched, mesmerized, as Jade patiently guided the spoon to Clara's hand, then helped lift it to her lips, her voice a low, descriptive murmur. Then Clara laughed, a genuine, bright laugh that echoed startlingly in the refined atmosphere. It was a sound Victoria rarely heard, a sound that pierced through her corporate armor with an unexpected sharpness. Jade said something else, and Clara laughed again, turning her face towards the waitress, her expression open and animated in a way Victoria hadn't seen in years. The annoyance Victoria initially felt morphed into something complex and unsettling, a confusing mix of resentment, curiosity, and a profound, aching pang of guilt. Who was this waitress who could make her blind, withdrawn daughter laugh so easily? And why did it feel like such a stark indictment of her own motherhood? Victoria Bennett, CEO of Bennett Innovations, commanded boardrooms and dominated markets. Her life was a meticulously curated symphony of success. Penthouse apartment overlooking Crestwood City, couture wardrobe, a net worth that demanded headlines. At 45, she was the epitome of self-made power, driven, brilliant, and notoriously demanding. But the shine dulled considerably within the walls of her sterile, art-filled home, particularly concerning her daughter, Clara. Clara was the unintended consequence of a brief, failed marriage Victoria preferred to forget. At 10, a rare, aggressive autoimmune response following a severe viral infection had attacked Clara's optic nerves, leaving her completely blind. Victoria had marshaled the best medical resources money could buy, but sight could not be restored. In the aftermath, consumed by work and perhaps unable to cope with the perceived imperfection, Victoria had retreated emotionally. Clara was raised by a rotating staff of highly paid nannies, tutors, and therapists. She lived in gilded isolation, her world circumscribed by the familiar routes within the penthouse, her braille books, her piano, and the carefully controlled outings orchestrated by staff. Victoria provided everything material, but remained a distant, often absent figure, her interactions brief, functional, and devoid of warmth. She loved her daughter, she told herself, but expressed it through provision rather than presence. Jade Robinson's world couldn't have been more different. At 24, she navigated the gritty realities of Crestwood's less glamorous neighborhoods. She was bright and determined, juggling online college courses toward a social work degree while working double shifts at the Sapphire Lounge to make ends meet. Her dream of becoming a pediatric social worker felt perpetually deferred. Her mother's sudden death 2 years prior had left Jade as the sole guardian for her 14-year-old brother, Marcus, along with a pile of medical debt. Every paycheck was stretched thin, covering rent for their small apartment, groceries, Marcus's school needs, and chipping away at the debt. Jade possessed an innate empathy and a quiet resilience. She saw the struggles of others because she lived them. Her warmth wasn't a professional veneer. It was who she was. She treated the often entitled clientele at the Sapphire Lounge with grace, but her real attention was reserved for moments where genuine kindness felt needed. An elderly couple celebrating an anniversary, a nervous young person on a first date, or a lonely-looking girl sitting ignored at a power broker's table. Crestwood was a city of stark contrasts, the gleaming towers of Bennett Innovations casting long shadows over the neighborhoods where Jade lived and worked. These two women, Victoria and Jade, existed in parallel universes, separated by wealth, race, and opportunity, until a chance encounter in a high-end restaurant brought their disparate worlds in a sudden, sharp focus. The business dinner concluded successfully for Victoria. Contracts were discussed, hands were shaken, future profits mentally calculated. As her associate departed, Victoria turned her attention back to her daughter, who was now sitting quietly again, Jade having long since returned to her duties. But the image of Clara's earlier laughter lingered, unsettling Victoria. On impulse, as Jade brought the check, Victoria did something unusual. Instead of a standard, albeit generous, tip, she handed Jade several crisp $100 bills. "For your excellent service," Victoria said, her tone coolly appraising. "Especially with my daughter." Jade looked surprised, hesitating for a moment before accepting the money. "Thank you, Mrs. Bennett," she said politely. "Clara is a lovely young lady. It was my pleasure to talk with her." There was no fawning, no excessive gratitude, just simple sincerity that somehow irked Victoria more than the money seemed to please Jade. As they waited for the car, Clara spoke, her voice soft but clear. "Mom, can we come back here soon? I like talking to Jade." Victoria was taken aback. Clara rarely expressed preferences, rarely asked for anything beyond her basic needs. This waitress had made an impression. Over the next few days, Victoria found herself thinking about the encounter. The ease with which Jade had connected with Clara gnawed at her. Was she truly that deficient as a mother? Or was there something special about Jade? Driven by a mix of guilt, curiosity, and her habitual need to understand, and perhaps control, situations, Victoria tasked her executive assistant, a discreet man named Thomas, with finding out more about Jade Robinson. Thomas returned a day later with a concise file. Jade Robinson, 24, student at Crestwood Community College, social work major, currently on hold due to finances, sole guardian of younger brother Marcus, impressive work history despite difficult circumstances, no criminal record, aspiring to work with children with special needs. The information painted a picture of resilience and quiet ambition, deepening Victoria's complex reaction. Here was someone juggling immense responsibilities with grace, someone who showed her daughter more genuine warmth in 10 minutes than Victoria often managed in weeks. A plan began to form in Victoria's mind, driven by a confluence of factors: guilt over her neglect, a pragmatic desire to provide Clara with positive companionship, and perhaps, deep down, a hope that some of Jade's warmth might indirectly benefit her own relationship with her daughter. Her initial, vague goal of understanding the waitress solidified into a more concrete, albeit unconventional, plan. She would leverage her resources to bring Jade into Clara's life. Not just as a waitress, but as something more. Her first step: arrange another, more direct interaction. Victoria decided against another restaurant encounter. It felt too contrived. Instead, she instructed Thomas to find out Jade's schedule and arrange a chance meeting near the community college campus Jade occasionally visited for library access. Victoria bumped into Jade near the library entrance, feigning surprise. "M.S. Robinson? Jade, isn't it?" From his sapphire lounge. Jade looked startled, but recovered quickly. "Mrs. Bennett." "Yes. Hello." Victoria steered the conversation, asking about Jade's studies, feigning interest in her social work aspirations. She learned more about Jade's passion for helping vulnerable youth, her reasons for pausing her degree. Jade spoke articulately, her intelligence evident beneath her service industry politeness. Victoria then steered the conversation to Clara. "My daughter, Clara, really enjoyed speaking with you the other night. She hasn't stopped asking about you." Jade's expression softened instantly. "Oh, she's wonderful. So bright and perceptive. How is she doing?" The genuine care in Jade's voice was unmistakable. Victoria saw an opportunity. "Actually," Victoria said, adopting a tone of thoughtful concern, "I've been thinking. Clara leads a rather isolated life, as you might imagine. She connects with so few people. Your interaction seemed beneficial for her." She paused. "This is unorthodox, I know, but would you ever consider perhaps spending some time with her? Not as staff, but as a companion? Reading to her, talking with her? I would compensate you very generously for your time, of course." More than compensate. Jade was clearly taken aback, hesitation warring with interest on her face. "Mrs. Bennett, that's very kind, but I have my job, my brother." "Think about it." Victoria pressed gently, handing Jade a private contact card. "Let me know." Jade didn't commit, but the seed was planted. Victoria felt a measure of control returning. She had identified need, Clara's companionship, her own guilt, and was moving to address it with resources, her usual method. But complications arose. Clara became more insistent, asking daily when they could see Jade again, her loneliness more palpable now that she'd had a taste of genuine connection. Victoria also faced subtle pushback from her own circle. Thomas, her ever-loyal assistant, cautiously questioned the wisdom of getting personally involved with restaurant staff. Her sister, visiting from out of town, raised an eyebrow at the story. "Victoria, darling, you hire professionals for Clara. Don't tell me you're bringing in some waitress." The implication, laced with snobbery and perhaps a hint of racial bias, stiffened Victoria's resolve. She wouldn't be deterred by their narrow-mindedness. Meanwhile, Jade wrestled with the offer. The money would be life-changing, potentially allowing her to re-enroll in school immediately and ease the pressure on Marcus. But entering the orbit of someone as powerful and enigmatic as Victoria Bennett felt daunting. Was it genuine kindness, or some rich woman's whim? What would be expected of her beyond companionship? She confided in her younger brother, Marcus, who pragmatically pointed out the financial benefits, but also worried about her getting hurt. Jade found herself thinking less about the money and more about Clara, the intelligent, lonely girl trapped in a gilded cage. Her social worker instincts kicked in. Could she genuinely help Clara? After a week of deliberation, Jade called the number on the card. She agreed to meet Victoria again, not to accept immediately, but to discuss the possibility further, wanting clear boundaries and expectations. Victoria readily agreed, sensing Jade's hesitation was rooted in principle, not just negotiation, a quality she grudgingly respected. The meeting took place not in Victoria's imposing office, but in a neutral, private room at a hotel, a concession Victoria made to ease Jade's likely intimidation. Jade arrived prepared, outlining her concerns and questions about the potential role. She spoke clearly about boundaries, her commitment to her brother, and her need to eventually finish her degree. Victoria listened, impressed by Jade's maturity and self-possession. This wasn't someone easily bought or manipulated. This realization, combined with her persistent guilt and Clara's continued inquiries about Jade, solidified Victoria's decision to make an offer Jade couldn't reasonably refuse, but one that also acknowledged Jade's own aspirations. "Jade," Victoria said, leaning forward, dropping some of her corporate formality. "I understand your hesitation. Let me be clear about what I envision and what I'm prepared to offer." She then laid out the formal proposal, a full-time position as Clara's companion and facilitator. This involved helping Clara with daily routines, coordinating with tutors and therapists, but more importantly, engaging her intellectually and emotionally. Reading, discussing books, exploring music, facilitating safe social interactions, if possible. A generous salary, significantly higher than Jade, could earn juggling multiple service jobs. A separate, legally binding agreement establishing a full scholarship trust for Jade to complete her bachelor's degree in social work at Crestwood University, covering tuition, fees, and books, contingent on her working with Clara for a minimum agreed-upon period, e.g., 2 years. Assistance with finding better housing for Jade and Marcus in a safer neighborhood, possibly subsidized by Bennett Innovations' corporate relocation resources. Clear boundaries regarding work hours and personal time. "I need someone Clara can trust, someone who sees her, not just her disability or her mother's wealth," Victoria stated. "From what I observed and what I've learned about you, I believe you are that person. This isn't just charity, Jade. Clara needs you. And frankly," she added with a rare flash of vulnerability, "I need help to ensure she has some measure of happiness. I haven't been adequate." The scope of the offer, the salary, the guaranteed education funding, the housing assistance, was staggering. It addressed nearly every major stressor in Jade's life. It offered not just a job, but a pathway back to her dream, a chance to make a real difference for Clara, and security for Marcus. The risks felt smaller now, overshadowed by the immense potential. This was the turning point. Accepting meant stepping irrevocably into the Bennett's complex world, leaving her old life behind. Refusing meant walking away from financial security, her educational dreams, and the chance to help a girl she already felt a connection with. Jade looked at Victoria, searching her eyes for sincerity, and saw beneath the power broker facade a mother's desperate, albeit clumsy, attempt to bridge a chasm. "Okay, Mrs. Bennett," Jade said, her voice steady despite the tremor of emotion inside her. "I accept." For Victoria, sealing the deal brought a sense of accomplishment, but also a flicker of unease. She had solved the problem, acquired the asset. Yet, inviting Jade into their lives felt like opening a door she couldn't entirely control. For Jade, the overwhelming feeling was one of disbelief mixed with profound hope. Her life had just taken an unimaginable turn, all because she'd stopped to truly see a lonely girl in a restaurant. Jade's transition into the Bennett household was smoother than she anticipated, largely thanks to Clara's undisguised delight. Having Jade there every day transformed Clara's world. Jade introduced her to audiobooks beyond her school assignments, sparking lively discussions. They explored tactile art projects, filled the apartment with music, Clara had a surprising talent for piano, and Jade learned basic Braille to share notes and labels. Jade quickly became more than a companion. She was a friend, confidant, and window to the world Clara couldn't see. Jade and Marcus moved into a comfortable, safe apartment in a better school district, the stress of imminent eviction replaced by the security of stable housing. Marcus thrived with the reduced pressure on Jade and the improved environment. Jade re-enrolled at Crestwood University part-time, meticulously balancing her studies with her responsibilities to Clara. Victoria kept her distance initially, adhering to the professional boundaries Jade had requested. She received daily updates via Thomas or brief emails from Jade, focusing on Clara's activities and well-being. Yet, she couldn't help but notice the changes in her daughter, the increased confidence, the more frequent laughter filtering from Clara's room, the way Clara spoke about Jade said, or Jade thinks. A part of Victoria felt a pang of jealousy, but it was overshadowed by relief and a grudging respect for Jade's positive influence. However, as Jade became more integrated into their lives, subtle dissonances began to surface. Victoria remained intensely private about the circumstances surrounding Clara's illness and subsequent blindness. When Jade gently inquired about past medical records to better understand Clara's needs, Victoria became evasive, claiming everything was handled by her private physician, Dr. Albright, and changing the subject. Clara herself had fragmented, confusing memories of the time she got sick and lost her sight. She recalled intense headaches, hushed arguments between her mother and doctors, and a specific, unpleasant medicine she was given shortly before her vision failed permanently. "Mommy said it was a special medicine to make me better fast," Clara once confided in Jade, "but it tasted funny, and then everything went dark." Dr. Albright stopped visiting after that. Jade also overheard snippets of tense phone calls Victoria made, references to containing the Albright situation, non-disclosure agreements, and ensuring no external reviews. It felt off. Jade's social work training had honed her observational skills and her sensitivity to hidden dynamics. Victoria's defensiveness about Clara's medical history, coupled with Clara's hazy memories, sparked a flicker of unease. Was it just a mother's trauma and desire for privacy? Or is there something Victoria wasn't saying about how Clara lost her sight? Jade felt increasingly conflicted. Her life was immeasurably better thanks to Victoria's generosity. She adored Clara and felt a fierce protectiveness towards her. But the growing inconsistencies surrounding Clara's blindness created an ethical dilemma. Could she ignore her suspicions? What if Victoria's secrecy was preventing Clara from accessing information or potential future treatments? The unease solidified into a quiet resolve. She needed to understand the truth, not to accuse, but to ensure Clara's best interests were truly being served. Jade began her search discreetly, starting with publicly available information. She researched the rare autoimmune disorder Clara reportedly suffered. While blindness was a possible severe outcome, it was statistically uncommon, especially the rapid, total loss Clara experienced. Most literature emphasized careful monitoring and specific treatment protocols. She then tried searching for Dr. Albright, the physician Clara mentioned who had apparently overseen her care during the critical period but no longer seemed involved. She found minimal online presence, suggesting he was either retired or kept a very low profile. Jade's breakthrough came through a Crestwood University medical library database she accessed for her coursework. Searching for papers on experimental treatments for rare autoimmune disorders, she stumbled upon a privately funded, small-scale clinical trial conducted 5 years earlier, around the time Clara got sick. The trial involved an aggressive, off-label immunosuppressant protocol spearheaded by Dr. Elias Vance, known for pushing boundaries. Alarmingly, the trial was halted prematurely due to severe adverse effects, including several reported cases of sudden, irreversible optic nerve damage. One of the trial's initial funders? Bennett Innovations. The connection clicked into place with sickening clarity. Victoria, desperate for a quick cure for Clara's sudden, severe illness, and perhaps impatient with standard protocols, likely used her influence and wealth to get Clara into Dr. Vance's risky and proven trial. When the treatment caused Clara's blindness, Victoria must have moved swiftly to contain the fallout, silencing Vance. Perhaps Albright was an associate who objected, sealing records, and creating a narrative of an unavoidable tragic outcome of the underlying disease. The secrecy, the evasiveness, the blocking of second opinions, it was all likely to prevent her role in the disastrous treatment decision from ever coming to light. Jade felt physically ill. Victoria hadn't just been emotionally neglectful. Her actions, driven by hubris or fear, had directly led to her daughter's blindness, and she had covered it up for years. This knowledge was a heavy burden. Jade wrestled with what to do. Confronting Victoria could mean losing everything. Her job, her scholarship, the stable life she'd built for herself and Marcus. Victoria Bennett was powerful. She could ruin her. Yet, how could she not act? Clara deserved the truth. She deserved agency over her own medical history, even if sight restoration was impossible. Jade's dark night of the soul involved pacing her apartment late one night, Marcus asleep, weighing her future against Clara's right to know. Her bond with Clara and her own innate sense of justice won out. She couldn't live with the lie. She decided she had to confront Victoria, but she needed leverage, proof. She discreetly reached out to a medical ethics professor at the university, outlining a hypothetical situation. The professor confirmed that blocking access to medical records or second opinions after such an event was highly unethical. Jade then made a bold move. She searched through old digital files on the Bennett family shared server, access she had for Clara's schedules, and found encrypted medical archives. Using intuition and guessing likely passwords related to Clara's birthdays or Victoria's company, she accessed a hidden file containing communication between Victoria and Dr. Vance, explicitly discussing the risks and Victoria's insistence on proceeding with the experimental treatment despite warnings. She now had the proof. The final preparation was deciding how to confront Victoria, privately first or with Clara present. She decided privacy was essential initially to gauge Victoria's reaction without immediately devastating Clara. Jade requested a private meeting with Victoria in the penthouse study, the place where Victoria often worked late. When Victoria arrived, expecting a routine update on Clara, Jade calmly but firmly closed the door. "Victoria," Jade began, her voice steady despite the pounding in her chest, "we need to talk about how Clara really lost her sight." Victoria's composure instantly fractured. "That's inappropriate, Jade. Her illness was treated with an experimental protocol led by Dr. Elias Vance, wasn't it?" Jade interrupted gently, laying printouts of the emails she'd found on the desk. A trial Bennett Innovations funded, which was halted due to severe side effects, including optic nerve damage. Victoria stared at the papers, her face paling, her usual mask of control crumbling. She sank into her chair, speechless. "You pushed for it, didn't you?" Jade continued, her voice filled with sorrow, not accusation. "Against advice? And when it went wrong, you covered it up. You silenced Dr. Vance, maybe Dr. Albright too. You've spent years preventing Clara from getting second opinions, from knowing the truth about her own body. Victoria didn't deny it. Tears, shocking and raw, streamed down her face. I thought I was doing the right thing, she choked out, fixing it quickly. When it took her sight, I couldn't bear it. The guilt, the shame. If the board knew, the media might accompany my reputation. I just wanted it buried. Just then, the study door opened slightly. Clara stood there, having navigated the penthouse halls with her cane, perhaps drawn by the raised voices or an intuition something was wrong. Mom? Jade? What's going on? Jade and Victoria froze. Victoria looked at her daughter, then at the evidence on the desk, then back at Clara, her expression utterly broken. Taking a shuddering breath, Victoria made a choice. Clara, she whispered, her voice thick with unshed tears. Come here. There's something I should have told you a long time ago. In that moment, the billionaire CEO vanished, leaving only a terrified, guilt-ridden mother finally ready to face the truth. The confession, when it came, was agonizing but cathartic. Victoria, with Jade's quiet support, explained everything to Clara. The illness, the risky treatment she'd pushed for, the devastating outcome, and the subsequent cover-up born of fear and shame. Clara listened silently, absorbing the weight of her mother's choices. Her reaction wasn't anger, but a profound sadness, mingled perhaps with a strange sense of relief at finally understanding the unspoken tension that had permeated her life. I wish you'd told me, Mom, she said softly. I deserve to know. In the aftermath, Victoria Bennett began the slow, difficult process of making amends. She initiated contact with top ophthalmology centers, seeking new evaluations for Clara, not with false hope of a cure, but with a commitment to exploring any supportive therapies previously ignored. More importantly, she started showing up for Clara emotionally, canceling non-essential meetings, sharing meals without distractions, learning to listen. Jade remained Clara's companion, her role subtly shifting to help mother and daughter rebuild their relationship on a foundation of honesty. Victoria, recognizing Jade's integrity and intellect, not only honored the scholarship trust, but offered Jade a future role in overseeing a new Bennett Foundation initiative focused on medical ethics and patient advocacy. Jade accepted, knowing she could make a real difference while completing her social work degree. Bennett Innovations faced quiet internal reviews and potential legal ramifications as Victoria ensured proper reporting regarding the old trial, but her newfound transparency helped weather the storm. Victoria Bennett didn't magically become a perfect mother, nor did Clara's sight return. But the truth, brought to light by the empathy of a waitress, allowed genuine healing to begin. Jade, no longer just an employee but a catalyst for change and a cherished friend, continued her journey, her life forever altered not by wealth itself, but by the opportunities unlocked through her own compassion and courage.